Thanks so much for having us here
No
today.
worries,
It's amazing.
no worries.
Now the gallery's been running for about 5 years, and something that I love about it is there's sort of these dual spaces. Well, 3 kind of spaces: the cafe, the shop, and then the gallery. Can you talk a little bit about how that happens?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's sort of starting off sort of 5 years ago. That was the concept originally of sort of wanting to bridge both art and fine objects. I liked the idea of sort of engaging with a younger Wellington art community, and that felt like something that was, to be honest, lacking a little bit in Wellington, and also just partnering that, I think, with striving for a better word, but curated sense of of objects, small furniture, things that sort of hold the same essence as fine art. They sort of partner well, and as we were saying before, on a practical sense, you're sort of creating a space that can bring in both crowds, for both, and so it's nice. And as you can probably tell, there's a bit of background noise here, which can be good and bad, but it's also quite a inviting space to sort of engage and see art, which I really like.
Because that is one of the things that I really, often when I'm driving past, you'll often see students that are up at architecture school or design school down here, so it does feel like this very vital part of the community in this area. And I'm wondering about the artists that you show. Who gets to show their work in this gallery?
Yeah, I mean, it's much like any program of any gallery space, whether it's artist run or dealer or somewhere in between like us. It is purely driven by my sort of vision of the artists that I want to be showcasing, and there's not a lack of that sort of pool of artists to be pulling from. We are sort of inundated with proposals and artists like getting in touch with us to sort of to show their work, which is great. We do have quite a strong relationship with the Fine Art School here at Massey, so generally we'll try and show at least 1 or 2 fine art Massey graduates, which is amazing. It's like their first sort of commercial gallery experience, and it's nice to sort of provide that framework and sort of essentially hold their hand through that process, because it can be very daunting. So yeah, it is purely like taste and vision driven in terms of what I want to be creating. Like obviously naturally with existing for 5 years, we've created somewhat of a stable of artists, which is which is for practical reasons great. But yeah, we definitely try and sort of encourage new blood, new artists sort of coming into the space. So sort of veering off somewhat from that sort of typical dealer relationship, I think.
Because that's something that's really cool as well, is that you can sort of feel there's a definite continuity throughout the sort of 3 spaces, which I think works exceptionally well. Coming to Robbie's work, what is it about his work that excites you?
Yeah, that's it's hard to pinpoint an exact thing, but Endless Darkness, this new body of work by Robbie, it's definitely a much like a lot of people and artists alike. Like there has been this body is quite a shift from his previous work to date, which I really enjoy. It sort of went through a couple of iterations in terms of a body of work that was made. He's quite a, as you'll probably hear soon, very passionate man. There's a real imperfect perfectness to a lot of these works. And he you'll probably notice with some of the titles he'll talk about overtly political as well. He sort of, keeps that simplicity with the works, but there are sort of stronger elements, stronger ties that he tries to sort of bring through subtly, I think, with the works. All in graphite, I think it's such a wonderful, palatable combo. So as you can see, looking around, they are like quite like yummy works, which I really like.
They just make me smile.
Yeah,
they're so
definitely.
great. I guess I just wanted to start off asking you, you're in Auckland,
yes,
and we're exhibiting in this gallery. What is it about this gallery that works so well with these works?
Well, I mean, I have a studio practice where I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where work is rolling. I'm not really thinking about shows. As such, shows kind of happen and then work goes into the show, it's not really, show's not an end point to me. And it was just one of those things. I finished up a show up in Auckland at Sausage, and Prak got in contact and was just like, we came and thought about it, and that was it. Yeah, it's on.
And it's such an interesting, energetic, there has been a shift in your work.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about, just talk about this show. It's such an amazing show.
Okay. So I had a little bit of credit at a local art store, and I had some gesso, and I thought, I'm going to save a bit of money. This is where the Fraser element comes in, but Scottish, you know what I mean? And then I thought, I'll just gesso them up myself, and got all these canvases, put them up on the wall, and I was like, why am I covering this material in primer just to cover more material on it? And I was just thinking more and more about it, and I've got a studio in the city and just kind of thinking about noise and just those things that kind of float in the background, and it was like, this canvas is already loaded with noise. All I can do is, add onto it without completely drowning it out. Yeah.
Because, if we look at a piece like this, this is the title piece of the show, and I'm interested in the fact that it's quite raw, but also it's got that play, that flip, so it really doesn't have an end or a start.
Yes.
I don't know, is that a correct way of looking at it? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always been interested in that kind of that optical, very kind of limited optical art in a way, There's Bridget Riley works where you're just and it's just completely buzzing. Whereas just I'm kind of more interested in the kind of it's kind of like the goldfish memory of optics, where it's like a 12-second memory, but in this case it's like a millisecond eye memory, and things flip in and out of, being behind and forward, or in and out, and there's no real, it's just it's an uneasy place for your eye to focus on, but you're still focusing on it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard this great thing the other day where it's through these sort of mistakes or illusions that we start to see how we actually see.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
is so interesting for a sort of a collection of work like this. I'm really interested in how they speak to each other as well. There seems to be these periods of rest, even though they're relatively busy. I don't know.
Yeah. One of the, I remember an old critique at, art school, you always go back to art school. I don't know what that's about. But, we were having a crit, and it just came up that, these have conversations with themselves, you know what I mean? But sometimes they're not really talking to each other.
Yeah.
They're just
Which brings me to the titles.
Yes.
There's an overt political kind of nature to the titles and the work. This idea of being urban, and I don't know, I'm interested in that.
Yeah. Okay, so the titles come about usually in that kind of in that special place of being around friends and talking shit or talking Lego. It's just you're not really talking about much, and then something will hit and you'll grab it, and then it goes down in the title book pretty much. And that's the way I like to think about the work as well. All of these are inspired by things that I'm walking down the street, something will hit my eye, there's something sticking out of a building, there's like a certain angle of a window on the corner of a building, and you go, that's that, you know, and because I'm down here and it's up there, only I can see this perspective. So I might as well translate it to work.
Yeah, it's just so great.
Yeah.
Could we maybe talk about, I'm interested in the colour choice. This is like such a dumb question, but I'm interested in the colour choice and the way, because this idea that perhaps you weren't perceiving of it as a whole show, but they do seem to work. What draws you to the colours, do you think?
I did a bit of colour theory in my masters, and it drove me insane. It was like chasing the dragon's tail, you know? It's just like, things will keep on coming up, and you get sidetracked and you just keep on going. So the way that I like to think about colour is that I don't think about colour.
I really love that.
It's just like colour. A lot of Western thinking about colour is that we think about how colour impacts on us, and I kind of like, well, how do we impact on colour? You know, like theory of the universe things. Like, you know, like I am not a theoretical scientist or anything like that at all. But there was a theory that somebody espoused that that the Big Bang was actually just a catastrophic event, and it wasn't the start of the universe. The universe has just always been, which is just even more terrifying than the idea of a Big Bang. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like always been, and it'll never end. And it'll just keep on growing. And it's just like,
yeah. I totally
flipping in and
agree. That's what I think, you know, like this is like a, what do you call it, perpetual motion machine, a lot of these, you know what I mean? Like, when I was looking at them, you know, like I was just thinking, oh yeah. Like, I mean, they just keep moving. It's
yeah.
oh, thank you so much.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.